Hello, everybody. I hope you've all had a wonderful work week. Well, we are just about a week out from the extraordinary drama over at OpenAI. No need to go into any of the detail of that here, as I can't think of a publication that didn't in some way cover it. I mean, I'm just waiting for someone to put on the Game of Thrones music and put a video montage together. But as Mr. Altman takes back the reins of his company that he helped create, well, and the existing board, it disintegrates before our very eyes, and everybody agrees that there was probably something that spooked everybody into all of this. We gotta ask, do we actually care? I mean, is this quite literally just a reality TV show with the same implications to marketers as, well, I don't know, Sutton's rage about pants and the Real Housewives of the Beverly Hills? It isn't about the pants, Sutton. It's not about the pants. Or does this have real, demonstrable implications to what we should be thinking about as we integrate generative AI into our marketing strategy? You want to know more about what I think? Well, this is 5 minutes, maybe a couple of minutes more of what you need to lead in marketing. Let's roll. Hello, everybody. Robert Rose here with the news. It's what's new, but more importantly, as you often know, yes, it's what's important in our world of content and marketing. And for the best practices in both of those things, you can head on over to contentmarketinginstitute.com. So, wow, what a week, right? The world of artificial intelligence and startup corporate governance, well, what a week it had. While we were all trying to figure out what we were going to put onto our holiday table, well, OpenAI, the huge startup, was going through some pretty dramatic events. Sam Altman, the mercurial CEO of OpenAI, was fired, and then following this abrupt and, well, still kind of really unexplained firing, the 38-year-old entrepreneur was offered a job at Microsoft and then very quickly brought back into OpenAI as CEO, all while the drama of the Machiavellian politics was covered en masse on Twitter, X, and Threads. Now, you don't need me to go through the drama here or provide any kind of hot take on what it all means for the startup world or board governance or the tension that is continuing to get more and more tense between the idea of AI safety and the Silicon Valley branded capitalism. There's plenty of other publications for you to go read about that. Rather, I think there are some interesting things that we can begin to put into perspective, especially as we close our year as marketers. With probably some of the big projects and initiatives slated to begin early in the new year with how we're going to think about integrating generative AI into our overall content and marketing plans. So what I'd like to do is just give you a couple of things to start thinking about, ideas that begin to put some meaning and hints to the broader implications likely to come out of the events that have unfolded over the last 2 weeks. Oh, and by the way, will continue to unfold. Because if you think this story is done, it's had its final chapter, it's in its denouement, no, think again. We are very likely to see this drama play out into this month and, of course, the early part of next year. But very much like a big rock hitting the center of the pond, we tend to focus our gaze on the event, the drama itself, with less concern about how the ripples actually tell us more about what the long-term implications may be. So here's a couple of ideas, 2 ideas for you to contemplate as we move toward the end of the year. 1, the right structure and corporate governance, it matters. Now, there seems to be a fair amount of consensus that OpenAI's weird and unique corporate structure may have been a key in the drama that unfolded here. Because of the disruptive nature of this technology and everything that goes along with it, OpenAI decided and created a bizarre corporate governance structure where, here we go, the board of directors controls this 501c nonprofit called OpenAI. That nonprofit owns a holding company called OpenAI GP. That controls the holding company for employees and investors. But the employees and the other investors own the holding company. Now, you confused yet? Well, it gets better. That holding company is the majority owner of another company called OpenAI Global, which is a capped for-profit company. So when you look at it all, you kind of go, well, it sort of makes sense. Basically a nonprofit working for the benefit of the world with a for-profit arm to fund it. And this technology is so big and disruptive, they decided that, earnestly, I think, that it needed a weird corporate structure in order to maintain that disruption. But it provides for a lot of unintended consequences here in governance issue, like the simple fact that the board that controls everything, well, it has no duties to maximize profit for the investors or the employees. What could possibly go wrong there when the investors and employees actually do have incentive to maximize profit? There's a lot more to explore there about the corporate structure, but the learning or implications that you can take away is that A, you better believe that other organizations that provide value to you in the relation of generative AI and AI-related software, they're all going through this right now. It may not be as public as companies like Microsoft or Google or Anthropic or others, and it will almost certainly not erupt into the similar kind of public and media-driven fireworks, but no. Just know that governance and the management of safety over profits is a big topic that these companies behind the scenes are talking about, and this will impact you as a customer. These are things that you need to be aware of as you license these solutions from these companies. How are they approaching these things? What are they doing? What are they planning on doing? And how are they structured to do it? And B, it speaks to the biggest issue that we've seen with our clients getting generative AI into their business, and that is that everybody at the individual level, well, they seem to have their own idea about what it is, how to use it, where it will be most valuable to the business. But if you don't solve for the team governance, the corporate governance, the cross-functional uses of the platforms that you buy, you will almost assuredly run into cross-functional, cross-siloed use of a similar technology, even multiple technologies that don't fit together. Remember, the productive use of generative AI is a content strategy and a governance challenge. It is not a technology challenge. That gets us to the second one. Remember, big platforms do not become anti-fragile just because they're big. Now, Nicholas Taleb wrote a wonderful book on the topic of antifragility, but what that means is that if something is anti-fragile, what it means is that the structure doesn't just withstand a shock of a disruptive event, it actually improves because of a disruption or shock. In other words, it's not just resilient to big disruptive events, it actually gets better or stronger because of them. Now, it's hard to sometimes imagine that a company the size and scale of OpenAI and, $80 billion of valuation, that it could quite simply or literally self-correct or even disappear tomorrow. But in today's world, it can and will happen. Unfortunately, there are still too many strategies that we see, marketing strategies built on what we've come to know as rented land. In OpenAI's case, the last 2 weeks have almost with certainty shown that the enterprise for-profit software is what won the day. But make no bones about this. This event, no matter who you sided with, wasn't good for the company. We'll see if they can actually bounce back. They're resilient, but they are almost certainly not stronger because of this event. And with that win for the for-profit side of things, you can hear there's an audible sigh of relief from the hundreds, if not thousands, of generative AI startups that are built on top of OpenAI's infrastructure. But after that sigh of relief, you're going to hear the scream of pivot. That's their best Ross from Friends scream as they all try and think about how their software is completely now reliant on OpenAI's existence or willingness and graciousness to provide that infrastructure. I mean, imagine what would have happened if the board had won their fight and decided that, they're going to simply kill off any paid access to the API or their ability to build business models on top of it, all in the name of safety. So as you're thinking through about buying that new generative AI software or building one with the team, it's time to ask, where is your infrastructure housed and what risks are there? And P.S., it's not just failure to think about either. If indeed OpenAI intends to continue to expand enterprise for-profit capabilities, well, what are the extra things that these off-the-shelf solutions now provide? Is this just going to kill off all these little small companies that build on top of ChatGPT? Do you need them? Is it long before OpenAI just becomes the Microsoft Office or Google Office platform of your AI infrastructure? All of that is worth thinking about. The last 2 weeks have done nothing to clear up the muddy waters of companies and their plans to integrate generative AI solutions. The overriding point here is that with the amount of media coverage that this is getting, and it's getting a lot, you're now starting to see a bit of a pushback on this. I mean, my social media feed, I don't know about yours, is now filled with many that are saying, I'm tired of this corporate soap opera and I don't care about it anymore, and what relevance does this have to the work we do? They're half right. The soap opera itself does not. What Sam said, how Ilya responded, articles about heart emojis, and how much this guy from Twitch got for his 3-day tenure as CEO, well, all of that is great fodder for the Netflix series Sure to emerge. By the way, my money is on Michael Cera as Sam Altman here. I mean, make no bones about it, you're going to continue to see all of this play through the end of this year and early next. But they're also half wrong. There's a concept called attentional bias, that we as humans pay more attention to certain elements associated with big disruptive events while ignoring others because we have something underlying that is biasing that attention. OpenAI's struggle is entertaining, no doubt. We're glued to it like we would be glued to a soap opera. It doesn't even seem quite real in some ways, but it is, they are, and understanding what happened with the events that unfold here, they're directly related to our ability to manage similar ones as they emerge for us. And well, that's it. That's 5 minutes of what you need to lead in marketing. Pay attention, and remember, it's your story to tell. Make sure to tell it well. I'll see you next week.